What's up, everybody? It's We Are Live. Chris Denman, Matt Braunger. Check out Helium Comedy Club this weekend. Very excited to have you in for the first time.
Thanks, man. Yeah,
What's happening, dude? This is exciting.
Yeah, it is for me too.
This is a big career moment for you.
Yes,
I know
I finally made it. For years.
Yeah, the IMDb page is long, but finally you feel complete. As a performer, you're on We Are Live in St. Louis.
Yes.
At the Midcoast Studio. No, seriously, very nice to have you.
Oh,
here,
thanks
man.
for having me, man. This is awesome.
We were just discussing a little bit ago. Last time you came through, you have some, I guess some of your wife's families here. Performed at a rock club.
Yes.
A little bit of a difference in audience and maybe tenor from a weekend, obviously, at a club in St. Louis to the rock club. Are you specifically doing clubs mainly now? Do you kind of get in? Do you rock it out and do some of those venues?
I play a lot of the Helium Comedy Clubs, and it's
nice to know what you're getting.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's a quality brand, so to speak. So
company man.
It's nice to play something where you know it's gonna be good, but. Honestly, the Firebird was a pleasant surprise.
I think so.
A one-nighter at a rock club. I work with a guy. My agent works with comedians and big bands, so he knows big, small venues. So he'll call people and be like, "Hey, have you ever had a comedian?" And sometimes they'll be like, "No, okay, sure." But the Firebird they already had Kyle Kinane and a couple other people.
TJ, I think they had Mark Maron, TJ Miller. Like they had
it was solid and. Yeah, I mean, it was wild because my Aunt Mary, aunt by marriage, she's got this great big house with a pool right near the Loop.
Yeah.
And so we were just there swimming around and.
Is it one of these like dream houses over there?
It's pretty great.
Yeah,
they've had it for something like 100 years, something insane.
Yeah.
And they're pretty old, but. My wife Kara was like, "Oh yeah, Bronger's doing a show tonight," and everyone's like, "What?" And they're like, "Well, let's go." And so everyone went from the party to my show, and so I had a couple relatives that were pretty lit up, and were the kind of the loud raucous ones in the back. Right. I wasn't annoyed by them, but my relatives definitely were. We're like, you need to shut. Like I won't say a name, but kind of. Just because she was just like, yeah, that was funny. Do you guys think I would later, like just that thing of they're just stream of consciousness talking drunk?
It's tough too because you feel them. You understand. Like I was at the pool too. I had a good time.
This is partially my fault. But at the same time, I'm not going to show up when the party starts at like 11 a.m. and be like, guys, don't have too many Bud Lights because I got a show later.
That's right.
You're going to have to. Honestly, be quiet or laugh, one of the two.
There's only two
You don't have
options.
to go, but if you're going to go, maybe limit it to 12.
The day drinking in the summer too. Like I don't.
Yeah.
Did you grow up in Portland?
I did.
Okay, I was gonna say I get the Midwest vibe too, but like maybe Portland's just super cool too.
Well, my parents are both from the Midwest.
Okay. Yeah.
My dad's from Iowa. My mom's from Illinois, and
humbled your ass growing up then.
Kind of, yeah. Well, and Portland's kind of the great thing about Portland is it's a place where whatever you are, it's the land of American refugees. It's where people who didn't fit other places just kind of ended up. So when I went to school in New York, but then I went to Chicago and lived there for 6 years, so I kind of reconnected with the Midwestern roots, and it's
that's a really dynamic, I guess, just cityscape for somebody to live. Like literally, like Portland, Chicago, New York. Like I like that. That's a nice mix. Like it's not as vain as where you are now. And
no,
that's what I'm glad you got grounded first.
Well, it's that wild thing where I really respect people who fresh out of college or don't go to college and go to LA very young, but that would have really ruined.
How do they do that?
Yeah, I don't get it. For like personally, I love attention and substances, so I would have been. Effed.
It's a little early, but may we? I hear you, bro.
yeah.
Right there. Yeah.
No, yeah, it's just, I mean, all that stuff, generally speaking, is under control now, but when you're young and you're indestructible and you have a lack of impulse control, it would not have been a good scene.
People go wild in Midwestern college towns.
Right.
Like, I can't imagine you being like 2 feet from a supermodel when you think you're indestructible and 22, and maybe somebody put out a line of cocaine and you've had like a couple good comedies. Like,
and you also thinking the partying is part of / a route to success.
Right.
And God help you if you get success really young, because it takes a lot of strength and a lot of discipline to not flame out.
Luck even that you didn't have the wrong manager being like, yeah, go ahead, do
Absolutely.
that thing.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you've seen plenty of that too. I mean, do you, with I guess somebody like that, especially with acting, because I feel like maybe more like stand up, people are gonna get tossed to the wolves and they're gonna grow up a little quicker. I feel like usually.
That's a good point.
Yeah, at times, but like with acting, I mean, have you come around someone that you kind of pull to the side and you're like, hey, maybe this is what you look at? I would feel strange being in that position to see someone with that talent and to impart that wisdom, but I don't know. Do you have that in you?
I'll be honest. I just think the biggest misconception of young people these days is that they're as dumb as us. No offense, but I do think like because they have, they grew up with these magical boxes in their pockets where you can literally look up anything and get any kind of perspective. You either kind of go cuckoo bananas or you get a strange wisdom very young. I've known so many people in their 20s now that are so much more on the ball than I was, and
awareness.
Awareness. There's a guy, Gavin Matz, who's out of Vancouver, who's super funny, and he's like early 20s, and he kind of has he's very kind of like we all are. Everything's stupid, but at the same time, he's very humble. He's very down to earth, and he kind of steers away from going too nuts with like drinking and all that stuff. He's just like, I've just been warned. I've seen too many bad examples, and it's kind of like, oh, cool. Because when I was young, I remember we were all maniacs.
I'm sure.
And but at the same time, I think maybe it's handed down in a good way, a bit of an alcoholic pay it forward, if you will. Where I remember seeing guys who were, 10, 20, 30 years older than me and we're still going hard, and you're like, you see how it breaks you down.
Absolutely
mentally
does.
And physically, and you're like, I don't want to be that guy.
Do you still drink?
Sure.
Yeah. And that's interesting to me, and it feels like a lot just because it's probably more per capita, but I literally talk to, you talk to comics every day for the last 4 years, I feel like. So and you have a larger portion of people that are like accepting sobriety or doing that best thing that's ever happened to them. Right? Some people stay funny. Some people kind of lose their fastball because they're not having as much fun. I do find that to be interesting that in a world like that, like it's just one more thing to navigate that's ultimately just connected to your mind, right?
Yeah.
It's like it's crazy what that can and can't do for people.
A lot of it is just stepping back and just taking a deep breath and going, do I really wanna?
Yeah.
Because what it comes down to is like rocking on a stage and making a connection with everyone that came there, and just trying to, have a good life. And also, I believe in treats. I love drinking. I love, eating good food and having fun. I think you have to have, treats. Like to get by, otherwise
absolutely
you're not giving yourself little rewards and
even
stuff.
Even in a creative field where you are expressing yourself and hitting those marks and probably crossing off that passion that you have that maybe other people that aren't in your industry do have, you still have to clock out, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's a huge part of it.
Yeah, I think the key is just not being like, I'm sad. Because then it's just all that's just throwing gas on the fire.
I guess we can't hang out tonight, man. This is kind of weird. That's the only way I like to party.
A lonely old man bar.
Yeah.
For a while.
I was like, if you're not busy,
there's a place in Portland called the Handy Slut, the Sandy Hut, aka the Handy Slut.
Nice.
And it's a bar. It's been there forever. And my buddies and I went there in the afternoon, and there was a sign up that was like, Gentleman's Day. Like, oh, it's Gentleman's Day, huh? What a nice way to put Sad Loser Club. Gentleman's Day. Yes. And it was very tongue-in-cheek, but it made me laugh so hard.
Like, stays with you to this day. My God. I want to go to the gym. Okay, we'll go make that happen sometime.
It is a great bar, but now it's like surrounded by condo buildings. Like on all sides. It's like the Alamo. It's like the Alamo of Old Portland.
I will say this: we have a sober producer behind the desk there, and but he still hangs out in a disgusting bar. I can daily.
I know. My friend's dad got sober and still would shoot pool in bars and all the time.
That's cool.
I think that's fantastic.
Yeah.
If you can do it and it's conducive, then why not?
I do want to throw it, Mr. Gardner, just because this is such a very specific, very painful thing for you to realize. As he lives in an area that's being gentrified, I don't even know if you say gentrified. It's changing. Maybe the economy is changing it or something.
There's buildup.
It's real. Like in St. Louis, you have segmented areas, but it's a true urban area.
I
right?
will say if it's an urban area, but there's money coming in and there's housing that some people can't afford. That is gentrification.
Yeah.
We tend to think of gentrification as only racial.
Sure.
And that is a huge one. That's the biggest one in LA.
Yeah.
I think it's not necessarily the same in the Midwest. There are areas that were low income, median income that are generally speaking what you call white people, but then they're definitely getting gentrified.
The concern is displacement.
Yes.
Of people.
Yeah.
That's
Your thoughts on
my
Shake
favorite bar of
Shacks
all time
and Whole Foods taking out your old stomping grounds.
Is now Rest in Peace 34 Club.
Yeah.
A dive bar, a true dive, a true saloon. Sinatra drank in there when he would come into town.
Yeah.
70 years, over 70 years it had been in. And now it's a Shake Shack, and I like to tell everyone, and condos,
and the guy,
and I make sure to tell anyone, yeah, I hear that Shake Shack's haunted. So that's my little,
That's your
like,
contribution.
It is like in my neighborhood, which is one of the few pedestrian neighborhoods in St. Louis. There's a lot of buildup in that area now too, but it has always been pedestrian. It used to be 3 neighborhood bars, and now there's only 1. So that's kind of sad for some of the neighborhood people. I think, is that we see the development, which is good, but you're also taking charm away. And I'm not saying it's bad because you're seeing development, but you'd like a balance more than just say, hey, here's more condos.
Right.
And not only that, there's also people that it's a combination of people of different levels of wealth, ethnicity, and you start to see that go away some when you start build up, and that's what concerns me.
I will say Matt would just be very
I like
excited
a dive bar.
Lululemon is right there. You can get your new pants, and it's a big thing for
I
you.
did work out today, and I wore Lululemon shorts.
Did
not
you?
gonna lie to you. Yeah, they make men's stuff.
Yeah.
It's wild that you said that. I'm like, actually, like sponsored post.
I find them to be quite pleasant.
Well, and it's funny that you mentioned there's only the thing that hit me was that like there used to be three bars. Now there's 1. The gentrification that I see so much of too is kind of this thing of like dive bar gone, but 7 craft beer places.
Yeah.
Right.
Where it's still alcohol.
You're from Portland too. You've been seeing this your whole life.
But it's everywhere. There's all these places that are built up, and I tend to think people overdrink more than they realize with craft beer. I think in a dive bar, not that people drink less, that is not true, but more often than not, I will say people go in and they have like a whiskey or 2 and maybe a lighter beer, and that's it. Whereas you're going to have a high alcohol grade, higher ABV in a craft beer bar, and a guy's going to have 7 and be like, I didn't really drink last night. It's like, dude, you definitely did.
Worked at a brewery for 5 years in and a little after college, and it was the funniest stuff ever. So it was a college town, so it was like bars. You probably are going to have to throw people out a lot, right? Not this place is a chill place. I think I removed like 5 people in 5 years or whatever. Point being, the amount of professors and people with the term doctor at the front of their name that I had to physically help like walk out of there at times where you're just like, if your students could see you now, like, and they didn't do shit while they were there. They were just sitting there slamming some kind of a super imperial IPA that's
anything in a tulip.
Right.
Just shit housed.
Right. And then maybe they work their way over to a liquor because they like the bartender. Who knows? But it is the silent alcohol.
I will say I very consciously drink now. I'm very aware of how much water I've had, how many things I put in me. Because it's just, I've just spent so much time because I grew up in the Northwest where the first American craft breweries were.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so it kind of had this thing of it's a keg of Hefeweizen that's like 7%, and just like what like how
don't treat that like it's Tecate.
No.
Like this is not something for a float trip.
Exactly.
Like this is going to put you on your ass. That's interesting. So back to the Portland part of things. I wanted to ask you this so I don't forget. What do you go back to? I mean, you just did your last special in Portland.
I did.
Right? Okay. And then how do you feel about, I guess, the changes over the years? Or has this just kind of been a progression? And I don't hang out in Portland. I don't know much about Portland. I read stuff and everything's amplified when it comes to what's getting put out media-wise.
Right.
From the time you grew up there to now, what are your thoughts on just the city and the people of Portland as a whole?
It's the gentrification and the development has kind of been an explosion, but there's a certain degree of pushback. But one thing I've learned, and I mean, it's sad, but money always wins. Yeah. And there's a lot of bad to that, but there's some good. There's some improvement. What they do is, in Portland, they add tweaks to giving people permission. Where like say you have to build a condo building, you have to build low income stuff, and that's been the hardest thing. And the thing that, like, side note, that drives me crazy about the overdevelopment is a lot of it is just money hoarding. A lot of it is just people that have billions of dollars and they build a building. To them, it's not even, they don't care if anyone lives there or not. It's they put their money there and no one can touch it. That's really what it comes down to, because real estate will always have a good value in a major city, and a lot of it is people that are not Americans at all.
Right.
There you go. So.
For the last 20 years, I've seen the other end of that, where they hold on to shitty areas, and it remains like that because they're like, I'm just going to sit on it and ask for a crazy price because I'm not going anywhere.
Yeah, nothing, and life goes by.
Yep.
Well, yeah. But I will say one cool thing about Oregon is, like, you can't Airbnb a place unless you actually live in it.
Interesting.
So you can't, buy up a bunch of properties and have them just turn, which that's probably the most broken law outside of drunk driving there, but it's a good law to have. Like, you have to have certain things built. But to answer your question directly and get off my fucking soapbox.
Listen, that soapbox is getting big, man.
I think Portland is still an incredibly livable place. The thing is, it's just very small.
Yeah.
And thankfully, it hasn't had something like Seattle or San Francisco, like a tech boom that just wipes everything out.
Right.
A friend of mine, Solomon Giorgio, he's a comedian. He lived in Seattle, and he's like, all 8 of the buildings I lived in have been destroyed. Which is that's a bananas ratio.
That's insane, yeah.
And obviously San Francisco's so blown out, but still has kept its beauty, and it's still a place you still want to go visit and things. I don't think Portland has been hit as hard, but I haven't lived there, since I was like 18.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, put it this way, in terms of modern Portland, I know Paris, I don't know Paris.
Oh my! Yes.
So, but I go back a lot.
Yeah.
I go back
No, that
lot.
makes
like
sense, especially with your schedule too.
Yeah.
Like,
I have a house there that I rent to a family.
Do you sleep on the couch when you go through there?
No, but I creep that place. They don't even know I own it.
Maddie.
They don't know. A management company.
No. Yeah, okay.
I mean, that's how you have to do it with property. I'm not going to be like, hey, it's me, Matt Braunger, here to fix your roof. I've never done it before. Had a nutty night last night. Pretty wasted, I'll be honest.
I see you on that TV show.
Do you have Gatorade? I am sweating. No, but I don't do it often, but I occasionally drive down the street and
give it a little peek.
Who's in there? But and my parents still live there, and the church I grew up going to is still there. My parents still run like a food pantry there. And
it's fantastic.
They're retired,
so
they've always done stuff like that.
Sound like good people.
They are.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened to me.
I was gonna say, what's going on? What's fueling this creative fire?
Well, I will say, I do volunteer work when I'm on the road, and I actually looked in where are we?
St. Louis.
I almost said Kansas City.
I've been on
the road too long, everyone. And most places needed like a 2-3 day commitment, and I have a lot of family here, so I have to kind of parse it out by hours.
Really?
Well, it's most. I will say volunteer work is booming right now, because same people are doing it for people are doing it for the same reason I'm doing it, which is just to kind of take the pressure off a little bit and feel a little better.
Right.
We're operating at a level of anxiety in this country that I thought would be unsurmountable about 5-6 years ago, but here we are. We're still laughing. We're still joking and talking about bullshit craft breweries.
Right.
But so I kind of volunteer work. I do it not just to help, but also to help me, to feel like I'm doing something.
Well, you do it for the Instagram so people think you're not a piece of shit, right?
That'd be funny just every time. I couldn't find just take a picture of me handing this box to this black guy. Do you mind? Sir? Yeah. Take it. Fucking take it.
Hey, 3-legged dog. Look,
I want to get drunk.
I need 1,000 likes. 1,000 likes.
I did volunteer work at this sexual health outreach center in inner city Philadelphia, and it was me and all black people. And it's one of those things where, oh my God, does this look staged? Yeah.
Right. Where you're like, you have no problem being there, but you're aware of the optics of like being Mr. Savior guy.
Yeah. You were really working at Blacks Educating Black Sexual Health Initiative. You were actually there. Did you make up that?
Matt has just like a really big affinity for being around and having that look on him. Right. That's
that
what
has
it is.
I mean, because I took anyway. The amount of people that like stage stuff for all their social media, it's like, Oh my God!
How do you not?
Look, if I was staging it, end me,
right?
Cancel me.
I'm fine with that.
But it's like, because that would be the worst.
It
keep
would.
Standing amongst homeless people.
Right.
Take a picture.
Whatever city you're in, you have the person from the club take you. It's like, hey, take me to your Skid Row.
Talk about someone that would be universally hated.
Yes, we need to. That person exists.
Have you? There's a book called "So You've Been Publicly Shamed."
Yeah. What's it? It's a dude from England.
Yeah.
And the Yahoo
brilliant.
CEO is a big part of that.
Yes.
What is that guy's name? He's fantastic.
The woman who tweeted about going to Africa, I won't get AIDS.
Yeah.
I'm white.
Because I'm white. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wakes up, her life's over.
The world hates her.
Yep.
So it's like everyone's always kind of waiting for someone to hate. If that came out about me or anyone else in the entertainment, they'd be fucked.
It would too. I want to stay on that topic. But where do you typically like to spend your time, or where do you like to give your time? I mean, other than black public health.
It doesn't have to be black. But
I don't know. I saw your writer. It was in there. It was like it demanded.
I only do black charities. Jesus.
Yeah.
I know. I always kind of I've said many times, if I devoted as much time to writing jokes as I did to researching where to eat and drink coffee anywhere I'm going, I would probably have a much larger career.
You are so Portland.
I always look.
You check
it's
that
ridiculous,
out,
dude. I'm like a SWAT team leader. Like, all right, we can approach from the north. Get a coffee there.
Yes.
We'll spend about half an hour there. We'll go over here. There's a vintage clothing store. See if they have jean jackets in the large man size. Over here.
That's tough, man. People weren't as tall as us back in the day, man.
That is the wildest thing. Like, you go to costume stores and you're like, I want to dress like a 20s gangster. They didn't make them that big. Like, get fucked. I've seen pictures.
Right.
There were people that were 6 feet.
Thank you.
Maybe they just killed them and they stabbed their suits up or something.
Yeah.
And like, you know, I like record shopping. I don't buy them as often.
Yeah.
And when I have a new record coming out in early 2020, so that should go to vinyl as well. And
who's doing that? Like, who are you working
800 Pound Gorilla Records.
Yeah, they're great. They're
amazing.
So good. Yeah.
Yeah, it was one of those things where I did this special and I produced it and I got it attached to this place, and it took them almost a year to get it set up at Amazon because there was they had, you know, they wanted
Comedy
to space it
Dynamics
out.
one?
Yeah, I got it set up there, and because they did Big Dumb Animal before that,
Right.
and so they're great, and they took it to Amazon, and Amazon bought it, but all that took, you know, it was 2 years from me shooting it to it get airing.
And that probably feels like 20 as far as material goes.
So my wife was just like, do an album. You can do an album, and so I did it last New Year's Eve weekend, and then so we wanted to let the special breathe, and then so that'll come out in 2020. And that's
clean or no?
No, I did.
Okay.
I did release a clean album of bits I don't do much or old bits.
Like Sirius will pick that
just
up
to
and
get
just
on. Laugh USA. They always need clean material. So this one isn't clean, but it's also like anything I do. Nothing is intentionally dirty. I'm never going to get put on the filthy tour or something like that. It's just,
Legion of Skanks isn't asking you to headline
really.
Skank Fest.
I love Big J.
No, of course.
But
but
no, that's not exactly.
I get it.
People don't think of me when they think
when they think of filthy.
That.
Yeah.
But, so anyway, long story long, basically when that album comes out, what I always do is I not only take the album on the road and sell them. I don't take a lot because it's basically like carrying hand weights in your suitcase.
Yeah.
But I do take a hard copy to whatever independent record store I can find and just go, here, have it. You
it's
can sell
great.
it, great. You know,
just spread the word.
And I make friends and I see what you guys have and stuff. And I really, as I've gotten older, I less and less. I don't really buy a lot of new records. I buy like some older stuff, and I always ask them like, "Oh, can I see your stash?" Because they always have something that says like, "Here's an Oscar Peterson first pressing. It's worth $500."
There's a record shop a block up that way. I'm like,
Really?
I'm like, you need to go, man. Yeah.
I'm telling you, it's the coolest thing. There's a great record store in Dayton, Ohio, where you go in and there's like 5 old men drinking beers, just listening to whatever they're. And I'm like, that's what I want to do.
Yes.
I want to be this man.
Yeah.
And just hang out and have like 2 Sierra Nevadas in the afternoon and listen to records, and then.
I'm gonna tell you something. You can do this.
Yeah.
I know I can do it. I know you can do it.
Yeah.
You're there.
But it's rad that when you kind of like, oh, what do you got? What's under the counter?
Right.
And, you know.
It's like simple pleasures still alive.
Yeah.
For the comedy special, so I've heard of. I'm a little familiar with Comedy Dynamics process. This is super nerdy, but I'm curious to anyone who ever thinks they're going to put out a special. What's the most surprising thing to you with that?
Yeah.
And then you said the process is 2 years, and these are like Comedy Dynamics. I know other people they've worked with. The Sklar's did some stuff with them. They're like top level. Like they're a big time producer. They'll get you on Amazon. They'll do that. As far as that process, how many specials do you have on your belt now? And then most surprising thing about that entire process?
Well,
and do you want to do one on your own too?
No, I mean I did that one on my own.
Yeah, and they
but
picked
you just
it up.
have to have someone do that. But I have 3 specials. The first one was the Comedy Central straight deal across the board. And they put it up, and that was great. The second one I did in conjunction with Comedy Dynamics, and they set it up at Comedy Central and Netflix, not at the same time.
Right.
But that's back when you could do that. See, the thing
different
is,
now. Yeah.
Netflix has been as good for the industry as it's been bad, I think. And I'm just giving you. I'm going to keep it 100.
Yeah.
I respect that company, and I've done stuff with them, and I know a lot of people that work there, a lot of people who have specials there, but they basically they don't acquire anymore. You can't make a special and bring it to them. It depends. Like, let's just say Barack Obama wanted to do a comedy special. He could shoot it himself and bring it, and they would make it.
Correct.
If you're that level,
Sure.
But generally speaking, they know who they want, and honestly, it's all about, the algorithm is all about demographics with them. So if there's a comic with a hot hour in Indonesia, bang, that person will get a special. You or I might have never heard of him or her, but that's a genius idea on their part because they expand their Indonesian influence. So let's just say my market, the medium famous straight white dude, that market's flooded. It's flooded. And so I'm not going to get an hour special from them, and I'm not salty about it. I get it. I understand.
Do you feel like your acting credits should get you more on that? Because if you're bringing those other things in,
but really, would it make a difference? You kind of have to look at things in terms of someone scanning through like YouTube.
Right.
Like, why are they going to click on this one thing? Are my credits going to make? No, it'll probably make them resent me. But if there's someone who catches their eye, makes them laugh right away, they might give them a chance. And that's broad, but
Sure.
and let me just say, I'm not blaming the fact that I'm a straight white.
Oh
dude
no,
on
it's
specials.
it's what it is.
I think it's just it's just you just have to look at it in terms of the market, in terms of what has been nailed down. Like you put it, example would be like Nate Bargatze, who Southern dude, Tennessee kid. That special blew up because that is a demographic that people wanted to see some of that. You know, they wanted to see
in a
more
weird
of that.
way. It's it's underrepresented.
Honestly, I think he would have done worse if he had a cowboy hat on.
I
but in
completely
terms
agree.
of marketing, a marketing guy would be like, put on a cowboy hat. And he's like, I don't wear those.
Not my thing.
But he is the Tennessee kid now, you know? So it's like that, you just put that in marketing. It's a focused, boom. It's a touchdown. That said, I think in terms of people wanting their own hour specials, don't get hung up on specials. Get hung up on getting as good as you possibly can be, and look at what options there are now.
Yeah.
I mean, people really got salty at Netflix for doing like 15-minute, half-hour specials. That was genius. When you look at people's attention span, I mean, and I knew it was genius when I found out, and I don't think their reps wanted them to do it, but like Chappelle and like Bill Burr and a bunch of other people were like, I would do that. Those sound really fun.
Right.
Think on that level. Think on that level of what sounds fun to you? How can you reach people? Don't think so much in terms of status, because that shit it's going to go away.
So true.
It's all going to go away. There's no crowns. I should make a bumper sticker of this. There's no crowns. We're all clowns. We're all
We can print
clowns.
it 10 feet that way. We have the capability.
It's like, I think about like Chris Evans. That guy is absolutely beautiful. And I'm not gay, but I would. But that guy's a movie
This is
star.
my next question, actually.
And he doesn't, right?
Yeah,
isn't it?
yeah.
We'd all kiss him. But that guy has no ego.
Right.
And he's Captain America.
Yeah.
Like, be like that.
Yeah.
Have a work ethic and know who you are and bust ass. But, like, just have a sense of humor about the whole thing. Comedy Dynamics, they've done a lot. They've done really great stuff. But they've also made 1 billion specials.
Yep.
And so is Netflix. So it's kind of like, specials are a goal. But if you don't get a special, fuck it. If you don't get in that festival, who gives a shit?
Yes. That's so true.
You have to, we are in the day and age where you have to be your own festival. You have to be your own special. You have to be your own thing. And that's really hard. But shoot for it. You're going to probably fail.
Right.
I fail every day. But, like, try.
Absolutely. Well, you can't even do it. Like, so, again, we'll talk credit to it, but like, you've had things on Comedy Central, like Nikki Glazer's from here.
Right.
Great example, right?
Yeah.
Like, I see she had a Comedy Central TV show. I'm like, to anyone in the world, she's a headliner who now has a Comedy Central TV show.
Yeah.
Guess what happened after one season of it doing well? It goes away. Right. And then it's not like you're going to get humble. It's just you're on to the next thing.
Yeah, and she had a huge, funny Netflix special, and it's still there, but it's not on the billboards anymore.
Right.
It's like, should she feel butthurt because of that? No. That's a major achievement. But
go crush the theaters you're doing.
Neither should some other comedian who thinks they're that similar demographic or whatnot get butthurt because they haven't got their billboard yet,
right.
you know? I mean, it's been said a lot, but comparison is the thief of joy. You really will crush yourself, worrying about what somebody else is doing. And don't get me wrong. I still be like, oh, what the fuck? How did I not? It's still that feeling you get all the time.
Do you have the handful of dudes that you are probably constantly compared to that, like, you don't even have to say names, but do you have that group of people that probably gets acting more so, right, either gigs or roles that you're like, God, I went with the...
Sometimes, but more often than not, it's not, there isn't like an exact,
right.
I think that's why, that's for once when it's harder to be a person of color. No, I think it's like, because when you get to that boom and it's like there's a couple other,
there's certain slots.
Black men or women that are exactly your age, that's when it's hard. With me, there's a billion of me, so I don't even think about it.
Right.
Sure, I go to auditions and we all are basically the same schlub in a lot of ways, but, hold each other's kids. And, you're in next? I got the baby.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
But it's not as, it's more like I would just say in terms of one example, I started out with Pete Holmes, and he's much bigger than I am. But
taller, yes.
Yeah, he's taller and he's more successful and stuff. But it's like, I don't want Pete's career.
Right.
I want mine.
Yeah.
I remember someone being, I remember the closest I've thought to it is like, oh, if I could be like John C. Reilly, but stand up too.
Sure.
But just because I love John C. Reilly.
Right.
I'm not jealous of John C. Reilly, and he's a far different person than I am.
He appears to be doing exactly what he wants. You don't know what's going on in his head, though.
You don't know,
right?
Dude. The way I think of it all the time is I remember Kate Dippold, who wrote The Heat and the new Ghostbusters, and she wrote sketches with me, mostly for me. She mostly wrote them when we were on Mad TV. She wrote Weight Smashers, that sketch where he's a guy who used to be fat, but he keeps pulling his waist to keep showing his balls.
Yeah.
And there's Blurred, and it's so stupid, but it makes me laugh every time.
Right.
Like he just wants to, because he hasn't seen his genitals in so long.
So
he's
excited.
Like, cut, stop it. Because she said she saw an ad and it looked like the guy wanted to go low.
Yeah, and that's where the whole thing came from.
Yeah. So she told me the story once that she was at a party with a bunch of improv friends, and her boyfriend were on the absolute rocks, and nobody knew it. And this one guy, who is another friend of ours who will remain nameless, came over, was just drunk, and put his arm around both of them, was like, guys, I just love you, and I love that you're in a relationship. And man, I'm just saying, I'm sorry, I know I'm drunk, but I want what you guys have someday. And he does not know they are on the edge of breaking up, right on the edge of breaking up, And it's that, I think of that in terms of anytime part of me goes, boy, I wish I had that.
Yeah.
This person could be like, my wife is leaving me.
Yeah.
I'm Black Panther. Great. My wife hates me.
Right.
And I guess I just admitted I wanted to be Black Panther.
Well,
I'm sorry. With the maybe it just keeps the suit on the whole time. I can do an African accent. No.
Go ahead.
But
Give me a few.
We don't know.
Let's work through it. Braunger, make sure you're clicked on him.
Accent. Yeah, I can do a North American accent.
No, I know exactly what you mean. Whenever you look into that and you think like at different levels, people have these amazing things going on, and it's so easy to just sit back and be like, well, I go back to my apartment and like my rent's late or my electric, like that version of problem amplifies all the way up the line.
And that's the biggest, the anyone who can get through life and pay their rent and be a functioning adult and, good Christ, keep a family moving, that's success to me.
It's incredible.
You think about we now measure success in terms of how many likes or how famous you are, who knows you, and all that jazz. And oh God, my favorite, Leslie Jones had this bit at the comedy. I'm a regular at the Comedy Store, and I'm sitting next to, there are these seats that like only comics can sit at in the back, and I'm sitting next to Tony Rock, and Leslie Jones did a drop-in, and she did this bit about how black people don't care how famous you are, and how like a guy will just grab her and be like, be like, yo, I'm famous too. You want this selfie? I got a mixtape. And he's just taking a picture. And like Leslie Jones, who's just the biggest, SNL star right now and stuff. And it's just like, and Tony just leans over and goes, it's so true. And it's that thing where I'm laughing. It's just, I think that's obviously like from their angle, a black famous thing. But I think that's an everyone famous thing because everyone has this deep down thing of you just want to be seen, really. It's not so much you want to be famous if you're honest with yourself. You want to be seen and you want to be valid. Yeah. But being famous does not validate you. And it's this thing where I think everyone's just like, yeah, well, that's great, but
there's always that waiting. The amount of that you just perfectly described, her play, yours, whatever. I'm picturing that Comedy Store. Like if you guys haven't been, it is one. If you're a comedy fan, when you're sitting there at the Comedy Store and you see people. You see 5 people from SNL. You see every comic you've ever seen on Netflix hanging out, waiting to go up. That's hallowed ground, and you're 5 feet from those people. There is still some son of a bitch that's gonna walk up and be like, "I'll promote you on my Instagram."
Yeah,
I've got. And it was like, "What are you? What is this? Are you real?"
And as much as they have like reverence for everyone that goes there and stuff, everybody who goes on that stage is like, well, probably gonna eat shit.
Yeah.
Because the original room is the hardest room, and the main room is the hardest. Like it's just, I look at it. It's like I remember there was a guy who he's an agent and he's a good guy. He's friends with me and my wife, and he reps a couple friends of mine. And he was just there. And he's like, I've been coming to the store more, check out the talent and stuff, and watch people's sets and get away from my desk. And he's like, but I got to go. I know you're going up. I'm like, oh, you don't want to watch me work out at the gym?
Right.
Like, that's how I feel.
Yeah.
It's like, it's fun. I'm going to make it fun because if I don't make it fun, it's no fun for people watching.
Right.
But at the same time, you're just like, I expect to get punched in the face.
You are. You're training. You're not. This isn't the prize fight. This is. Hey, some jobber can piece me up too, man.
And so it's like it is. There is always that element when I have a good set. You're like, whew, I got through that one. And I think once that goes away, and it's too. I do feel like there are comics like for Dave Chappelle. I'm sure there's never any fear. Because he's kind of, but this is also,
it seems like that.
He also is a guy who was a prodigy. Like that guy used to go up on stage. He'd go on stage in his teens, and he did not know comedians had material. He thought you just talked about whatever was on your mind.
Am I thinking of him? He was doing parks and stuff too. Like, it's insane. No,
and so it's like it's that thing where, and I'm sure there are other people starting out like that who are that good too. But it's funny. When Louis C.K. first blew up, and this is before all the other stuff, like he had a way of presenting all of his well-worked bits as if he was just thinking of them now, and I think that was as good and as bad as it could be for people starting out, because I saw a lot of comics, especially like people that were famous not for stand-up but were doing stand-up, get on stage and be like, I'll just talk about whatever, and then just couple laughs, crickets, and it was this thing of, no, you can't just, you really do have to learn the rules before you break them.
It's undeniable as far as what you won't. I mean it's many people say it, but it's like martial arts, comedy stuff. Like you get exposed super fast if you're not built up the correct way.
Yeah, and have that kind of natural armor where you can just ride it out when people aren't laughing, where you don't just crumple.
When's the last time you saw a paid regular eat shit at the Comedy Store?
Well, I wouldn't. It's not even eat shit. It's more like people are kind of just like listening in a way. So it's rare that someone just, but people do push it, trying stuff. But the thing is, you'll try stuff, it won't work, and then you make fun of how none of it worked, and you get a laugh because you explore exactly why it didn't work.
Right.
Maybe you're harping on something too much, and you're like, oh, you're right. I am too in love with that premise, and I shouldn't have talked about female masturbation when really, what do I know about it? And then you get a laugh.
And then you're working it out.
Kind of thing. Yeah. So I think you show your humanity. People, I've said this a million times, but there was a book that I read where there's a defense attorney who just said the truth just sounds different in court. It just sounds different when someone's like, he did it. And people are like,
oh boy.
It's that guy's
We're
not
here.
lying.
Yeah.
He just called that guy a murderer. And he pointed.
Yeah.
Shit got real. So when you're kind of waltzing through some bit you've done 1,000 times and getting some laughs, but people are kind of feeling like, oh, but this is just a mask. But then you pull it off and you go, my wife farted during sex. It's fucking with me. People are like, now we're going somewhere.
And we're back.
Now we're in the game. That's what we wanted.
Not that your wife farts during sex, but you said she had.
The only time she does it.
That's what I'm saying. Look,
Let's put the logo right there. We can cut. I think we can cut right there.
Helium
Put the
Comedy
logo.
Club all weekend long. Check him out. The dynamic between you two, before you get out of here, that's super interesting. We had a very private conversation, so tell me if you don't want to talk about this.
That's fine.
No, your wife formerly managed you.
Yes, she did.
And she still manages some of your peers.
Yep.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Give me just the quick breakdown of manages you, no longer manages you now.
2007, I signed with her. Before that, I was without a manager for about 2 years, and before that, I was with a manager who was just mercenary and not really there, and so I got real gun shy. But I really liked Kara because she was kind of what you call a junior manager. She just started signing people, but she repped like Jen Kirkman and Eliza Schlesinger, who were like, fireballs and were on their way up. And I was like, okay, I want someone who's hungry. And we worked together, and then around 2010, we started crossing lines you're not supposed to cross. Like, she was my drinking buddy. You'd go to festivals together. You're like, oh, we get along, and you're talking business, and the night goes on, and there you go.
You're in an insulated world, too.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so we hooked up here and there. She was with someone. They got married. I was at the wedding. I got real shit-faced, and I wonder why. And but that was she'd been living with this guy for a long, long time.
Was he a comic?
Is he a comic? No, okay. But she did that thing where the mistake a lot of us make, where you're with someone a long time, you go, I guess we'll get married, but you don't necessarily want to. So after about 2 years, that broke up, and then we started dating in earnest and publicly, and that was good, but let me just say, we were engaged in a secret affair that all of our friends knew about.
Right.
So
were you like, you think you're slick, and your friends
slick.
like,
they're like, we know.
Yeah.
So we dated openly and worked together. At that point, I was at a point in my career where I wasn't really happy. There had been a couple disappointments, blah blah blah, and I was kind of, if I'm honest, I wasn't the best person, and so we broke up, got back together again, broke up, and then at that point, it was just like, we can't. Obviously work together. We can't. None of this is good. 8 months passed. She called me. I still have some of your stuff. We started talking, and then it was kind of like
leave behind.
Well, I wasn't even aware. I wasn't aware of so much in my life,
right.
Especially of like how incredibly, cripplingly sad I was during those 8 months. I'm fine. You know, I was one of those rare guys that doesn't share his feelings. Fucking all of us. Men don't share anything.
Oh my gosh,
My left arm is numb. Should I tell anyone?
What's wrong with us, man?
We're the worst.
We're the worst. Horrible. Like, you're apologizing for snapping your own ankle. You're like, what are you doing?
I can still play, coach. No, you can't. Lay down.
Right.
So we got back together, and the secret sauce was not working together. Like it was, because it's like, I am her biggest fan, and I won't say she's mine. but we root for each other.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like, I love how she's killing it, and she's like the head of the LA division of the company she works for, and she reps all these great clients, and she doesn't sign a lot of people.
That's
so
exciting.
She can have enough life.
Yeah.
But she also doesn't hip pocket people, where it's just like, I'm not going to work for you, but if you blow up, I'll take a chunk.
I'll never not think of Brody Stevens with that hip pocket thing. Somebody told a story about him just owning.
You.
That's the best story I've ever heard in my life. And I was fortunate enough to meet him before he passed, and it was man, just knowing that story. Sorry. You just threw me the hip pocket thing.
I'll tell you the Cliff Notes.
Please.
My favorite Brody story.
Yeah.
We were sent by Funny or Die to do this baseball charity. And the baseball charity had every player you can think of, alive or dead.
Right.
They were all there.
Yeah.
I know nothing about baseball,
Brody.
but I'm in a bus with like Mike Winfield, like just hanging out.
Right.
And he's laughing that I don't know who he is.
Yeah.
He's Mr. Baseball.
Right.
And we're in this golf resort where, if you walk outside the hotel more than 5 feet, a little cart pulls up. Sir, would you? And the biggest laugh I got in front of all those baseball players was like, I felt like a kid and there's a child molester driving around. Because it was this thing where I'm just like, hey man, I just want to walk. It's beautiful.
Right.
Yeah. You know?
Yeah.
And spring in Florida, like, please.
Yeah.
And I mean, Ken Griffey Jr. was there, and Kenny Lofton, and all these, just everybody.
Yeah.
And I did fine, but like,
you performed in front of them?
There's a guy that hosted, Chris, god damn it, I forget his name, but he's very funny.
Hardwick.
No. Black comedian. Anyway.
Tucker.
I forgot Chris Tucker.
Chris Tucker
and Chris hosted. didn't headline.
Yeah. Oh, I forgot to tell you, we're in the arena where the Magic play. Yeah.
So I go up and I did fine, but then I got a beer from the bar, and we're in this outdoor tent. Everyone's having drinks and stuff, and big round tables. And Brody goes up, and no one knows who Brody is, and it went from who is this guy to who is this guy?
Unreal.
Because he was like, hello everyone, I played baseball, I'm better than you, and then walking through the crowd, he knows everyone's not pro, also college, high school stats.
Yeah, I believe it.
He's like, you didn't hit much your junior year, Kenny. And they're like, what's happening? Yeah. Like he was doing magic.
Yeah.
Is this your card? It's like everybody going through the whole audience. And he goes over to Ken Griffey Jr. and goes, I touched him. I got some of the magic. And they're all laughing because they're like, no one brings up me. They always talk about Ken.
Right.
And Ken is the most shy guy ever. So he was just like laughing it off. And like he was having fun like a kid who's been told he's allowed to have fun.
Yeah.
And Kenny Lofton jumps up and yells something in his face, like joking.
Yeah.
But like, man, I'm about to throw you out because Kenny Lofton's so small.
Right.
I think it was a joke, like, I'm going to kick your ass.
Yeah.
And Brody Stevens go, oh, Kenny Lofton's after me. Gonna kick my ass. Who the fuck am I? And he names some player that supposedly they don't get along.
He pulled it out of
People started throwing chairs. They're like, how the fuck does he know Kenny Lofton and that guy don't? I wish I knew the player's name.
Oh, my God.
But I saw a dude kick off from a table and just throw his hat down.
Lose it.
They're like, people are crying. And I'm just leaning against a post with a can of Budweiser just going, I will never forget this for as long as I'll never see this again. That these things converge so well. An unknown comic who knows every baseball player's stats.
Played college baseball himself and
calls
like
them all out.
Oh,
and then afterward, we were all in the hotel lobby, this beautiful, opulent place, and everyone's around him like he's Elvis. Everyone wants a picture with him. Everyone wants him to sign their stuff, sign my hat, And Ken Griffey Jr. comes over and goes, I touched you. And he was so proud of himself.
That's amazing.
Like, I got him.
Oh my
And it was just, it was so cute. And it was that thing where like, people were just like, oh man, good job, man. You were funny, but holy shit. And I'm like, yeah, man.
Right.
And it was just, it's that thing. Cause like every comic loved Brody and every comic was like, you just think he's weird. Maybe you don't see what I see. And there were nights where I was like, God damn it, Brody.
Yeah.
Get off, or or stop beating yourself up, or you're never in the moment. But he had mental issues that none of us can understand.
The person I met he was just so sweet, so amazing, all this stuff. Like he had like an outburst. Like there was like this weird thing in Twitter, like where he got into it like on a podcast, and he was a guest host on a podcast, and then like MF'd the guy who wasn't even there and all this stuff. That was weird to me to be like, oh, that was Brody Stevens and stuff, but it just kind of shines a light on like, hey, we're all dealing with stuff and we don't know what's going on.
Exactly. But I mean, you can't discount his work ethic and how much he went out. It's just that it was one of those things. The most heartbreaking thing about it was when I heard the news, it crushed me, but I wasn't all that surprised.
Right.
Because I was just like, fuck. Because it was that thing where is it going to go? Because this guy cannot find peace.
This is such a weird results-oriented thinking kind of way, but Galifianakis tried to put him on, like everybody did, right? Yeah, absolutely. So you look at this thing and you're like, okay, if he would have hit that high note, like whatever he would have deemed as a high note in his career, would that have changed him?
Would it have been enough?
It wouldn't have. I don't think.
Yeah.
I mean, who knows? But
yeah, we'll never know. But it's.
You do wish in that this is weird, morbid, strange thing, but the outpouring of support from people who don't give a fuck about anybody but themselves was the one thing where you're like, dude, you had it, man. Like,
well, and I will say it's like that's totally true, but it's also totally untrue in other aspects, because I will say most comedians that I know and I meet are generally good people, and do look out for each other. We're entirely self-obsessed,
but
it's almost like it's like what Mike Tyson said: I have the biggest ego and the lowest self-esteem. Right. It's kind of that where we expect to fail, but when we don't succeed, we're like, the fuck,
right.
So we all kind of hurt for Brody without him even knowing it, because it just felt like an insult to go, "Hey man, are you okay?"
Right.
And honestly, I wish I would have said that to him, and I never did, and I'll probably always regret that. I wasn't all that close with him.
Right.
We got along. He was great, but Braunger, very tall, a warm, hilarious presence. He would sum you up like a sports writer.
Absolutely, like it's on your
sportscaster.
baseball card.
Mhm,
Man.
yeah.
Okay, so what do we need to look for coming up? So you're working on the album with 800 Pound Gorilla.
Album's done. I just approved it's got the cover art done or the photo. So now it's in their art department. They're gonna do the wording and stuff. So it's called Please Hold Me, and that's gonna be in the early part.
I just almost reached over. I was like, I got you, dude.
I have a bit about how the nicest single old guy is creepier than the grossest single young guy in a bar. Because young guys are just like, what's the grossest single young guy is like, I want some tits, I want $1.
Right.
But no, it's even grosser than that. Please hold me, I'm so alone. So because guys my age are not out for sex, they're out for companionship, which is so much fucking grosser than sex.
Connect emotionally?
It's just like, this is a place for pirates. Get drunk and fuck. Someone to love you forever, you weirdo. Get out of here.
Oh, God.
So that's where it's from.
Well, congratulations on that. Yeah,
thanks.
That's a big deal, man.
Escaping.
That's great. Yeah.
But no. Oh, the album. Thanks.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah, and then I'm going to be shooting a new special in 2020. So we're doing that. That's going to be I want to say late spring.
What's the plan with that, business-wise?
I'm doing that with 800 Pound.
Okay.
Yeah, because they're starting to make they made a special with Chad Daniels.
Yeah.
And I think one or two other people, and then they're kind of going to do the thing where they'll set it up at Amazon or somewhere else or whatever. So
gosh, that's amazing. And then the podcast too.
Mm-hmm. Advice from a Dipshit with Matt Braunger. Is we're rejiggering it. We may have like a name change. I'm in talks with this network. We'll see if it goes. We've done the independent thing for over a year, and it's been a lot of fun, but it hasn't really gone anywhere. So I think I need to partner with somebody on this.
So this is Midcoast Media. We've got a whole thing going on here, and it's interesting to me to see what hits and what doesn't.
Yeah.
We produce events. We do all this different stuff.
Yeah.
I've been on a large podcast network with a pretty big comedian and like I still don't know. I love their business model, and I think they're amazing in everything they do. But you look at it and you're like, I don't know what. It's cool to have support, but like I don't know what makes something go now.
No one does, dude.
Right?
No one does. It's like even the podcasts or the YouTube people or whatever that you put down for being like clickbait. They've also worked incredibly, insanely hard. So it's kind of like, it's so hard to well, not even so hard. It's impossible to know what's going to pop or what's going to blow up next or any of that stuff. But I've the last half year or so focused a lot more on in terms of simple marketing that I can do.
Right.
And I've definitely gotten better at it, but I'm still not good, not as good as I want to be. But it's just the only thing you can control is, if it's quality content and the amount of, I won't even say how hard you work, but how smart you work. If you put in the right amount of time, but also focus on the right amount of things, which who the fuck knows what that is?
I was gonna say too, like in 2020, are you gonna gain more from stand-up or acting?
Stand-up's the only thing that really keeps me in people's on people's minds. I have a pretty good streaming business in terms of like my albums get played a lot, and thank God for that. And I'm so grateful for people that have me
has to feel so good.
Matt Braunger station on Pandora, and they listen to me on Sirius XM and stuff like that, and listen to wherever, Spotify, Apple Music, great. So I get a good amount from that. Acting is kind of like winning like a scratch ticket. It happens about that much for like a scratch ticket for like $50 or $100. Like I just booked a guest role on a sitcom that's shooting next week, and it's going to blow out next weekend. So I'm not going to be able to go to Springfield, Massachusetts. I haven't really announced that yet, but it sucks. I got to move that date.
Yeah.
But the only option I could do is go, oh, what if I only do the Saturday show? And they're just like, no. So and comedy clubs have actually been super malleable and really helpful. And what I'll do is I'll find out who's who's going to take that slot, and I'll promote the shit out of it on my
That's cool.
socials. Oh, it's the least I can
Yeah.
do. I don't want to leave people in a lurch, especially people that, and your tickets will be honored for the next show or whatever.
Right.
But I will say it happens about that often,
Yeah.
maybe like 3 or 4 times a year. I'm always like pitching and trying to sell shows, but the sad irony is we have more platforms than we've ever had, and it's harder than ever to sell a show because all these platforms are owned by like 5 people. So they have all the money, and they're just like, well, why would I buy your show when I have this pitch where I have George Clooney locked in, I have Meryl Streep locked in, I have, it's just, and they're all playing stand-ups. Like
What's the point?
That's what we're all up against. The thing is, you can't stop pitching because hopefully that will be changed at some point. I mean, I'm keeping hope alive here, but it's frustrating.
It is. It has to be, man. But it's so interesting to see somebody with your mindset and the work ethic, and then also the talent to match it too.
Thanks, man.
It's very exciting, and it's been fun watching your career grow. And it's I'm looking forward to more of it, man.
Yeah, I appreciate it, dude. I haven't had a real job in over 10 years.
That's the way to be.
I feel so grateful for that.
Well, don't stop, man. People support Matt, and go to Helium all weekend long. He's got a great crew with you. Got a great feature, great local host. So it'll be a fun time.
Yeah,
so
it's gonna be
always
awesome.
love Helium.
Thanks for having me, man.
Thanks for
It's good
coming
talking
by.
to you.
Absolutely.